Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jack, this is Jthbooks, and it is time for the slightly late, but still very good April reading wrap-up. Now, this is a little bit later than I wanted it to be. It's a week late, but life gets in the way. Life gets in the way. But that does not deter from the fact that I had a marvellous reading month. Now, I read the most books in April yet this year. I'm going to say yet, let's keep it going. And also, I did that last April. April was going to be a good read month for me. So, I read, drumroll, I read 13 books. Now, I know that's nothing compared to some people, but for me, hit double digits. Now, 10 of those I read physically, and 3 of them were audiobooks. Your boy's getting into audiobooks. Like, I'm just at the gym and listening to an audiobook. I'm thinking, don't talk to me. My book's good. Well, there's some of them are right, the audio ones. Anyway, so I read 4,185 pages, which I'm proud of that. That feels like a good amount. I mean, shows I've got no life and no friends, but I've got the pages of a book, and that's what really counts. So this month we had 3 5-star reads. I told you it was a good month. I had 4 4.5 reads. Come on. I had 3 4-star reads, 2 3.75-star reads, and 1 3-star read, which is still good, but someone's got to let us down, haven't they? They've always got to let us down. Life is about letdowns. First up, I read Immemorium by Alice Wynne. Now, my sister kindly got me this for my birthday, and I couldn't wait to read it. There was no part of me that wanted to wait. It was the first thing I read in April, and I absolutely loved it. This is absolutely one of the 5-star reads. It is so brilliant. We follow Henry and Elwood is his surname, because they call him that, but I think his name's Sydney. I'm going to check right now. Sydney, who go to public school together, which is essentially a boarding school for the wealthy. And then Henry goes off to fight in World War II, and a bit later, Elwood joins him. And Elwood is very much in love with Henry, and is quite willing to admit it. And Henry is totally head over heels in love with Elwood, but just can't admit it. And that longing and that unwillingness to admit, and that how it's all just beneath the surface, is so brilliant. And also, like, the sort of little side stories of here from the other boys in the school, because it's a well-known thing here in the UK that, if you go to sort of like, well, now I think we'd call them like a private boarding school. Like, they're sort of known that if it's an all-boys school and all-girls school, they tend to have a little bit of fun with each other, okay? That wasn't happening in my school, but it was happening in there. It wasn't spoken about. It didn't mean you were gay or anything. It just meant, you're young, you got to get your rocks off, and he's there. And I think it shows that really, really well. It shows it can mean more, and it shows it can mean just experimenting. And there are like some little side characters that sort of had it and they ran away together, and I want to read about them now. And I'm talking really fast because I'm excited because I love the book. Sorry, I'll calm down. I just loved it. And there's parts of this that are told in letters when they're writing from the front to home and vice versa. And I just loved it. It made me absolutely sob. There is a part in it that made me absolutely sob, and I can't tell you because it will spoil it. But my sister came in and I was like, I thought this was phenomenal. I don't think it was perfect. I think this is their Alice's debut novel. It's beautifully written, but I think it could be better. I mean, if this was her 3rd or 4th book, I think I would have been absolutely blown away. But that's not saying that I absolutely adored this book. Then I read the book that you all voted for. There is a reading vlog. It's linked down below. Please go watch it. It is Memoriam by Brian Washington. Now, I won't speak too much about this here because I did go into detail in the vlog. But this is essentially about Mike and Benson, whose relationship is in a sort of a bit of tatters. And Mike's mum is coming to stay from Japan, and Mike flies out to Japan to see his dying father. And it's just basically about their relationship, Mike and Benson, when they're together and apart, and how it's working, how it's not really working, and it's about them deciding whether they want to. but it is really intricately written. It's really beautiful. It's really, the characterization's done really well, because the writing style for one character is really sort of static and stark, and I thought, no, this book isn't for me. But then when you get to Mike's perspective, and I enjoyed it more, and it was just a really sort of intimate look at their relationship, and I really enjoyed it. I ended up loving it. It was a 4.75. It's just not quite 5 because of the start. I thought you'd got it all wrong. But yeah, I mean, when you get to the end, you just want more. You want to know what happened. It sort of leaves it not like a cliffhanger, but more like an open question, and I want the question answered. But this has been on my TBR for so long. I'm so glad you all made me read it. Thank you. Check out the May TBR to vote for that one. And thanks. I loved it. So next up, it was my first audiobook of the month, and it was called Don't Cry For Me, a novel by Daniel Black. I shall put the cover here. Ta-da! And this is essentially about a father writing to his son, just explaining his life and why he treated his son the way he did when his son acted certain ways, and how he grew up. And this was a 4-star for me. I don't know why it wasn't 5, because it's something that I love. I mean, I was on the elliptical at the gym going like this, and it made me cry. Do you know what it's like to cry at the gym? It's embarrassing. But I don't know quite why it wasn't a 5 stars, but it was a 4-star. And I loved the format of like his father who's dying, who's writing letters, and explains why he treated his son the way he did when his son sort of grew up to be a bit more effeminate and eventually queer, and how he grew up. I loved the format of this. It was written in letters of the father explaining his life to his son and how the father grew up. And it just dealt with things like how the father didn't know how to deal with his son, who was growing up to like not typical boy things and was being a bit more effeminate and eventually queer, and how he grew up as a male. You didn't show those emotions, and how it showed just the toxic masculinity culture and the what it's like to grow up black in America, and especially when his father and his grandparents, the fathers, would have been slaves, and that sort of generational trauma. It was really, really brilliant. I don't know why it wasn't 5 stars. I think if I had read this physically, it might have been. But the audiobook wasn't bad. I just feel like I took a few gaps reading it, and if I had just read it physically, I think it might have been a 5-star. But hey ho, what can you do? It was really good. Don't get me wrong. It really delved deep, and I think sometimes as well I just lost my way of who was being spoken about and what time we were in. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed this. Then I read Broken Hearts and Zombie Parts by William Hussey. Now this is about Jesse, who is going to have some kind of heart surgery. He needs to be left with a scar. And before that, he wants to shoot his zombie movie, and he wants to fall in love. And I really enjoyed this one. They're fun characters. I really sort of liked that representation of, obviously for this it's a scar, and I know William Hussey has a scar because he has had surgery, so he's writing that from his perspective. And I like sort of that fact that we all have something that we think will make us unlovable physically. Well, I don't know if you do, but I do. For me, it's my acne scars. Got a bit personal there. I might delete that. If it's kept it in, I'm feeling brave. But we all just have things that makes us feel unlovable. And he very much says this, Jesse, in the book. He says, I've got to find someone who will love me before I get this scar. And it is quite heartbreaking. I think, we all should just be loved as we are. But yeah, it was a sweet book. Like I said, the characters had some real good personalities to them. I think there's a little bit of twist in the romance, but I think you sort of see it coming from the beginning. But I wasn't mad at it. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I liked hearing about the film stuff. I just enjoyed it. I just enjoyed it. Sometimes you just enjoy YA, and this was one of them. Next up, I read This Arab is Queer by Elias Jansen, edited by Elias Jansen. And this was my non-fiction for the month, and it was absolutely bloody brilliant. I could not put it down. So in this, you have sort of stories and essays from 18 LGBTQ plus Arab writers. And some of them, sometimes when you read sort of a collection of short stories or a collection of essays, you get some that you enjoy less than others. That didn't really happen here. I really enjoyed every single one. Some of them were so beautifully written. They were so heartfelt. They so summed up what it was like to be queer in these countries, and how even though they have left these countries, some people, they miss their country, they miss their home, but they can't be themselves there. It was absolutely brilliant. Just, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was 5 stars, full 5 stars. The non-fiction lately has been good, and I'm pleased about it because it makes my one a month much easier. Next up, we have my next audiobook for the month, and it was Book Boyfriend by Chris Ripper. Ta-da! Now, in this, we follow PK, who is in love with his best friend, and they kiss once in college, and he's sort of been obsessed with them ever since that. And he doesn't quite know how to tell them, so he essentially puts all his thoughts and feelings into this fiction book he's writing. The fiction book gets published very quickly, and the person who he's in love with gets an early copy and then finds out that it's about them and gets upset. Like I said, I didn't really feel anything for this book. I didn't feel the connection between them. It's obvious, obviously, they're gonna fall in love or admit they've always been in love. You know that from the first page. But I didn't really feel it. I didn't really care. I just wasn't into this one. I didn't really follow the plot. There wasn't much fun in it. Like, if you're going to give me a bit of romance, give me a bit of fun. Like, it was just like they were tortured all the way until they got together. And when they got together, it was a bit like, shall we? It wasn't my favourite. Sorry, but it wasn't. Sorry, got to be honest, but sorry. How many more times am I going to say sorry, but sorry. Bye. Next up, we have Next up, we have Imogen, obviously, by Becky Albertelli. Now, this is Jack, because I was very lucky to be sent a proof copy, a personalised one, but it is Imogen. And in this, we follow Imogen, who is so sort of wrapped up in queer culture and enjoys queer culture, and, all her friends are queer, that when she begins to question her sexuality, there are people that don't accept it or say, no, you've been straight for 18 years of your life, why would you, that's not you, you're not queer. And this is inspired by Becky Albertelli, who wrote other books like Simon versus Homo sapien Children, or Love, Simon, as it's been on to known. And it is inspired by her because she was forced out of the closet when people say you couldn't be writing queer books, you're not queer. And you can feel that in this book. I think this is a really important YA book. I gave it 4 stars. It is so, you can feel Becky's sort of pain in it, and you can feel her questioning. You can tell Imogen's inspired by her and her questioning, and it is really brilliant. And it's got really sweet romance in it too. It's not all, I think sometimes when you have a book like this that is coming at you with a strong message, sometimes the story gets lost. I know I've read a few other YA books like that. I don't think the story gets lost in this. The romance is really prevalent. Her questioning feels sort of really deep and story-like, not just, I'm trying to get my point across. I really, really enjoyed this. I don't think anyone owes you their queer journey. If they want to open it up to you, you listen, you accept them, but I think Becky's really done what she set out to do here, which is show, and I think this is going to be really important for people, especially young people who are questioning themselves, and I really, really enjoyed this one. Next up, I read Lose You to Find Me by Eric J. Brown. Now, there is a vlog for this. I'll link it down below. I went to London and read this book on the trip, and I really enjoyed this one. It's like a 4.5. I think it's about Tommy, who is working in a retirement home and wants to go into culinary school. And when his sort of first crush moves back to town, those feelings come back. And I really enjoyed it. It was really, really brilliant. I liked that it was a bit of an older YA. I liked that basically you sort of think you know what's going to happen, and you think something else might happen, and then I just like that the author made the healthy choice for a teenager, the choice that, you know, we all like the confused bad boy, whatever. But this one, what we really need in life is the nice guy. We need the nice guy that we get on with. Oh, sorry, I got angry. And this does that. It makes the right, sensible, good choice. And I really enjoyed that. I didn't think it was going to do it because it was a YA book, but it did it. And I was very happy. And I gave it 4.5. And if you want to go watch the vlog, go watch the vlog. Then I read Straight Expectations by Callum McSwiggan. This is another young adult book. I had a very YA month. And in this we follow Max, who is 17, hasn't been in love, hasn't had a boyfriend, hasn't had his first kiss. And he sort of makes a wish that he could be straight for a day or whenever, however long, so it'd be easier for him. Which I think, as queer people, we have all felt. And then the wish comes true. And I really enjoyed this one. Again, it's got another important message of just being who you are is enough, and you should never change who you are for anyone or anything. And I think that's what YA does best. It really sort of has a message, even though it's not always that subtle, but it always has a message. And I really enjoyed this one. It was funny, it was sweet. Like I said, I think the message came across, and it shows the importance of queer friendship, and it had a cute romance in. And, you know, sometimes when it's the obvious romance, I don't always want them to get together. I think, no. But this one I did. And, like, he does wake up one day sort of straight, and then has straight for a couple of days, and then wakes up and just isn't. And it's never really explained, but it doesn't take anything away from the book. Like, when you're reading sort of a young adult book, you get that you're not reading literary fiction, don't you? But it's not bad at all. I gave it 3.75. I really loved it. It's a quick read. I sort of couldn't put it down. And I have to thank Callum for sending it to me because it's very kind. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed it. I liked how it focused on queerness and camp men, and just even being that young, they knew who they were, and they wouldn't change it for anyone. And I didn't grow up like that. And yeah, I think just when YA shows the importance of queerness, I love it. I love it. I need it, even though I'm 31. But I get why teens need these, so just don't bash the teens for wanting it, okay, friends? Next up I read, and this is actually another non-fiction book, so I've got two in this month. It's All the Things They Said We Couldn't Have, Stories of Trans Joy by T.C. Oakes Monga. Now, like I said, these are just sort of short little stories or vignettes about their transition and their friendships and their love life, and it's set over sort of the spring, winter, summer, autumn. That was a weird way to say the seasons, wasn't it? Not even in the right order. We'll move on. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think it's really nicely written. I think, you know, it's nice to hear stories of trans joy. As trans people, they're getting it hard at the minute, and I hate it. They don't deserve it. I won't have it. I just please be nice. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. If I haven't done my maths right, like, then I haven't told you the right ratings, because I've got it written down, but I'm not looking. Yeah, I loved it. I really did enjoy this one. Like I said, there wasn't any bum notes really this month, apart from that one audiobook. So yeah, I have to thank as well Jessica Kingsley Publisher for sending it to me. I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Next up I read, which wasn't on the TBR, it was sort of sent to me, and I couldn't wait to pick it up, and it was Small Worlds by Caleb Azuma Nelson. Now in this we follow Stephen, who loves music and loves to dance, and when he sort of dances he's free and he's himself, and it's just, I think this writing is why you become a reader. It flows over you. You absolutely trust the author from page 1, and you follow Stephen over 3 summers, and he wants to be a musician, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. You sort of go back in time when his parents are getting together in Ghana, and it's phenomenal. It's 5 stars. Again, this is why I read, for writing like this. Oh, it's just so beautiful. It's a love letter to music, and it's a love letter to family and black friendships and black culture, and young love, and I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. I think he has a real way with words. I think he's a master at his craft. I mean, surely he's one of the best writers in Britain today. If you don't agree, you're wrong. I'm right. No, I'm joking. I just adored it. I absolutely adored it. I was a bit bereft when it finished when I finished reading it. Oh, get it right, Jack. But just thank you to Viking Books for sending it to me, because it's fiction at its finest. It really is. So next up was my last audiobook of the month, and I will insert the picture here now. And it was called something that I can't remember because I haven't got it with me. It was An Unexpected Kind of Love by Hayden Stone. Now, in this, we follow Aubrey, who sort of owns a failing bookshop in London, in Soho, and there is an American film shooting there, and they want to hire his bookshop, and that will help him out with money. And he meets the sort of secondary star of the rom-com, Blake, and it's about their romance together, and it was bloody brilliant. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I listened to it at the gym. Let me tell you, it got a bit saucy, like saucy, like spice. And I'm not really great with that in books. And I was like, I hope no one can hear this through my headphones, because I'm not going to go into it, but I really enjoyed this book. Really, I don't want to spoil that. I really enjoyed this book. I felt the romance, like you knew they were going to get together, but I felt the romance. I wanted them to get together. It had sort of grand gestures of romance, which is what I want. Oh, I loved it. I wanted them to be together. It had drama. Like, I love the drama, but I don't like too much drama. And it had just the right amount of drama. Like, it had the big grand gestures. It had sort of, what do they call it? Like the third act in the romance, where they sort of, fall apart and then get back together. And they didn't fall apart for long, and I enjoyed that. And I loved it. Actually, I literally went and started listening to the next audiobook from this author, because I really enjoyed this one. I'm really glad I read it, actually. It's probably my favourite romance I've read. Yeah, I think I gave it like probably, I don't know, 4.5. We say it's one of them. I think it was. I loved it. Sometimes like the narrator's American accent wasn't great, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. Lastly, I read Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Amide, and I absolutely loved this. This is about two students who are the only two black students in their sort of private school, and it essentially gets a bit like a Gossip Girl situation. They start getting text messages about their private lives, and the whole school starts finding out. And then there's sort of a bit of a twist that I don't want to ruin for you, but it is absolutely gripping. I read it so quickly, I had to know what happened. It deals with racism and institutional racism, and both the characters in it are queer. One is, from the get-go, and one starts to sort of question it, and I really enjoyed that. But it's a thriller, and it's thrilling. It's a young adult thriller, which I didn't think was going to be my thing, because sometimes I struggle with YA adult, and I'm really not into thrillers. But what do you know? This is why you stay open mind, open heart. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like a fool because I waited so long to read it. Apparently I really wanted to read it because I bought the hardback copy when it came out. But how it was, had that sort of thriller element, but something deeper. And I had seen some people say like they weren't that impressed with the ending, but I quite enjoyed the ending. Actually, I really liked the ending. I don't think it was let down at all. It certainly went out there, but I think when you had a book like this, how could it not? But I don't know why I waited so long. I feel like such an idiot. I just thought it was really clever, really intriguing. It had twists, it had turns. It was hard to read at some points because of the things that the aces were sharing. And oh yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think it was one of the 4.5 ones. It was 4.5. So that's it. That's my 13 books. My best reading month so far. I'm happy. A happy Jack is... What's that? Happy? Oh, forget that. I'm just happy. I'm happy. I enjoyed my books. I enjoyed my reading month. It's good to have no life and no friends, and you can just read. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you want to read any of these, if I've convinced you to or not convinced you to. Maybe my glowing reviews have put you off. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm going to speak... subscribe, please. And don't forget to hit the little bell thing, and I'm going to speak to you all really, really soon.